Hello, everybody. I am Professor Andy Muller, and I will be guiding your Splunk lab this term. On behalf of UONA, I welcome you to this brief overview of Splunk logging. In the minutes that we have together, I intend to explain everything you need to know about Splunk to get started with this tool. Well, not everything. You're going to need the labs for that, but we're going to do a pretty good job of giving you the overview of why even bother, of how important this really is to you in the long term. So we'll cover these topics on this slide over the next few minutes. Why Splunk? What is Splunk? How the enterprise works, and then we'll pursue the hands-on lab for logging. So in computing, a log file is a file that records either events that occur in an operating system or other software and as it's running. And it's going to be the communication that one computer does with another, right? So logging really is an act of just keeping a log, like a diary. In the simplest case, messages are written to a single log file. So you might ask yourself, why do I need to explore logs? Since, there's a saying that logs are the go-to archive for gaining company-wide operational intelligence. Sometimes it's called business intelligence. You can also, from there, get security alerting about malicious attacks on your network or support for incident response and forensics following up on an attack. So logs are generated on computer devices, right? Either a server or a workstation, right? A desktop, a laptop, something that you're using, a tablet. And they are really important for businesses, especially for those businesses that are online. And frankly, show me a business today that isn't online. So online businesses, as we'll learn in chapter 1, is really just a series of connected computers and their networks from around the world, right? And so in this concept, a server is really a special form of computer. It's really a supercomputer. It's faster, has more volume capability, etc., right? And so there's communication going on between servers and your desktop, laptop, tablet, or phone. So if you're purchasing something from your phone, you're actually talking to a website server, right? This massive, hyper-capable computer called a server, right? So, for example, we have lots of servers because we have a lot of things to manage, a lot of people that want access, for example, to a website, right? So now you can ask me exactly what do those logs contain and why are they relevant? Well, everything is generating logs. Even your basic machine you're using right now, if you're using a company computer, is generating logs as you view this video. Okay, and these logs are stored online in some massive database, right? So in your case, on your server, you'll have materials about the background of your customers. If you're doing online research, you'll know what their IP address is, their location or geography that they're coming from, that they're accessing your server from. You may track CPU usage or memory usage upload. How many users are accessing your CPU at one time, what they tried to access, etc. The list goes on and on. Dream it. It's there recorded in the log. The question is, do you want to capture it, right, in the database? And so the problem, though, is that logs become difficult to read. This is unfortunate because we have stored every single transaction on iota that's happening. Every single operation is in there. It's a treasure trove of information. And it's like a gold mine, this treasure trove. And when we find a gold mine, we don't mind hanging out there for a while, digging around, finding good information that we can use, right? We have to dig deep sometimes to find the actual benefits, but it is worth it because there's the treasure at the end of the line. So now at this point, we've reached a general understanding of our data and how to improve our operations through Splunk, right? This essence of business or operational intelligence and support for security alerting or forensics, incident response and forensics review, right? So this is why exploring logs is really, really important for us. So the next thing we're going to look at is the challenge, right? Though it's worth it, reading logs is still a challenge in the world we live in. They are not human readable form, right? Imagine you have to make a decision when you are informed that there is some security breach, right? And you know that security breach, what a security breach is, because the problem is present in the logs. And once you find it in the logs, you can begin to fix it. If it's an IP, you can stop that IP attack, the attack from that IP, or create a range of IPs that you block, right, while you figure it out. You can shut down a particular server or a small group of servers as opposed to all servers from access to the internet, impacting all of your other customers, right? So there's thousands of logs, all of this information. They're hard to read, and so you need a tool that will help you to understand your logs and to explain in a very simple manner how to find the information. And that's where Splunk fits in. Okay? So as far as I'm concerned, Splunk is this great tool. It's a premier logging and analysis tool. Right? Splunk does all the things that we have talked about previously for you. You might have to write some code, so you'll have some Splunk experts on your team. But the data is there and it's accessible and you can figure it out. Okay? You can collect logs from one particular instance or one particular server. You can see the information right there and you can dig through it. In fact, in your first Splunk lab, you're going to demonstrate the visualization tool of Splunk. You'll capture it and send it in as proof that you completed the lab, right? So it's great. Splunk will know where you're at and is logging it and capturing it, and will show you how to walk through that, all right? So now, so the great thing about Splunk on the left-hand side of this column is that it's real-time logging information that's being forwarded to you. So I can stop attacks as they're happening. It's real-time analysis, right, going on. Then moving to the far right side, I'm able to collect alerts, and those alerts further notify the security team. For example, an incident response team, right, to take action. Or the Splunk may take the action for you. In addition, it's collecting historical data, and it can act as a log store, a storage location for all of your data. Not just the real-time data, but historical data that lets you do further analysis on customers, on marketing, on the attack, malicious attack itself, and many other topics just like that. So it's really very exciting what Splunk can do for you. So let me give you an example of some of the different companies that use Splunk based on all the benefits we've described. Vodafone, Domino's, and ING Bank are three that I have picked out, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands. Okay? We know that Vodafone is a telephone service provider. It's basically using Splunk to manage big data and map key performance indicators. Domino's Pizza, many of us are already well aware of it. It's a very popular organization. I may call them tonight. The owners there wanted to understand the behavior patterns of their consumers that were buying their products. They wanted to understand what times they were ordering pizza, what dates their customers preferred, what edible items they liked to add to their pizzas or even their desserts and drinks, right? And based on those details, Domino's providers were offered help to close deals faster, right? They were able to support their marketing effort by offering coupons if they thought the deal might be getting away. And then there's ING Bank, right? It's a massive bank. And they use Splunk to monitor the bank accounts and if there are any fraudulent transactions happening. Many of us on our phones have received a note, oh, fraudulent transaction, did you approve this? Right? This is all happening through the logging system. So now we'll move on to the main segments of Splunk, right? Input, parsing, indexing, and search. So the first segment is the input, which acquires the raw data and streams from sources like your computer or a server. So there are many ways to get data into the indexers, right, which is the middle column. One of the ways is using a universal forwarder, or I just called it a forwarder in the first column. Now you can use a forwarder to get data into the indexers. Another way is to use syslog. I mentioned that in the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Syslog is generally used by devices that normally can't have a universal forwarder. Some of them, like a black box, right? I can't modify any of the data, so I need a syslog just to forward it to Splunk. Sometimes network gear like routers, switches, or firewalls need this syslog to forward it to get the data. Then I'm going to do parsing. Parsing is where the event occurs, which means that Splunk is going to analyze the data into individual components, and then that data is sent to the indexer. The third segment is indexing that I wanted to mention, and this is really in the middle column, the repository for data, right, where the indexer takes this parsed data, these parsed events, and writes them to a search index on a disk. And so there are really two types of search indexes. There's an event index, which is the default type, right? And that'll hold any kind of data. And then there's a metric index, which is going to hold metric data. And then the final segment is the search segment, and that's the column on the right. This is the primary way we navigate data in Splunk Enterprise. You can write a search, right, some code perhaps, to retrieve events from an index using statistical commands to calculate metrics and generate reports. You can search for specific conditions within a rolling time range window. You can identify patterns in your data and predict future trends and so on, right? And you can even save searches as reports and use them in a dashboard format so you get regular updates. Okay, so forwarders are basically responsible for collecting your data and forwarding it to another Splunk instance, in this case the indexer. The indexer is where the data is being stored, and whatever logs come in at real time, they will be stored in the indexer, and yet you use the search head, which will give you access to the data that is present in the index. And it will let you do the analysis or visualization or reporting. It's visualization that you're going to do in your first lab assignment, and we're going to walk you through that step by step. So we personally interact with the search head, which accesses the data from the indexer, and the indexer again gets the data from the forwarders. Okay, that's pretty much it. That is Splunk 101, a summary of how Splunk is valuable to you, the individual, in either a marketing perspective, business intelligence, operational intelligence, or from an incident response perspective, forensics analysis, stopping an attack, etc. I'm Andy Molnar, professor at ULNA. Happy to serve and glad you're here. I will look forward to seeing you in class.